Every entrepreneur dreams of overcoming all challenges to experience the sweet taste of success and to see their business soar to unrivaled heights. AFFINGEM Bank propels your business forward by offering banking without barriers and supporting your business goals.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hello. Hi, Chusan. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Anees. Hi, Chusan.
Hello.
Okay, happy Women's Day and welcome to SME BizChat by AFFINGEM. Yeah, our topic today being women in startups. And welcome to this session. This is supported by AFFIN Bank, WORQ, and MoneyMatch. Discover how you can grow, empower, and manage your business by becoming an AFFINGEM member. Our speakers today are Anees, Head of Finance at MoneyMatch, and Stephanie Ping, co-founder and CEO at WORQ, Coworking Spaces. I'm going to pass the floor to you guys to make a brief introduction. Anees, shall we start with you?
Sure. Thank you so much, Chusan, for that introduction and for having me here. Like to wish every woman out there a belated happy International Women's Day, which is a couple of days back. And yeah, it's a great honor to be invited to this BizChat today alongside Stephanie Ping as well, the CEO of WORQ. MoneyMatch was one of the tenants back then as well in the early days of WORQ, so it's a good place to start. Just a brief introduction of myself. I guess I was in conglomerate for a couple of years in Sime Darby, AICB, and was doing all the finance and accounting for those organizations. And I spent a few of my earlier days in strategy and business development, which has helped me a lot in the recent phase of my existing role with the investment and project analysis and valuations of the companies and fundraising and whatnot. So since then, during those conglomerate period, I had the curiosity to join the startup world. So my sister started her own skincare center, Dermaline. So she did that full time, and I was just initially helping her and advising her on the side in respect of like finance and accounting aspects of it. And I became curious to see what it was like. And I went on to then join her, which was about a year into her business, and just helped her out with setting up the basic structure of the business. And you just become addicted to the pace, I guess. So the group is currently doing very well. They have around 4 or 5 branches all across Klang Valley. And I decided to continue venturing into the startup world anyway with MoneyMatch. So here I am, MoneyMatch today, a fintech startup within the cross-border payment space. They're growing super fast, riding the wave of the digital economy nowadays. And for those who's not aware of what MoneyMatch is, basically we're a digital platform that helps SMEs and entrepreneurs to make cross-border payments at a cheaper rates and faster and significantly cheaper than any of the banks, especially when you're trying to make payments for goods and import of goods and services and whatnot. So here I am as part of the startup world as a head of finance in MoneyMatch. Pass on over to Stephanie.
Thank you, Anees. We are so glad to have you with us, as well as you mentioned that you guys were, I guess, one of our first customers, and we're really grateful. I made friends with your team at the time, which is Adrian and Nissan. And, we certainly help each other out. They're like friends. We miss them a lot. And this is the kind of like wonderful community that we have in our space. People like, MoneyMatch. We are so happy to see you guys grow so well and, have really like become very successful in your journey. And these are the things that, we just feel so fulfilled to see your growth and your success, throughout these few years. Yeah, so definitely have to shout out there a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we've seen you grow too. So yeah.
Yeah. We're like, growing together. But yeah, thanks, Chusan, for hosting this. And, for us work, I mean, basically, I think you guys know what we do. We have, been sort of like the space as well as community provider for a lot of companies, including startups like MoneyMatch, tech companies, SMEs, large companies. We've got MNCs in our roster of customers, as well as, one-man show, freelancers, people in the gig economy. And we represent all of them, whoever kind of works in an office, who wants to like the real estate to fit into their lives instead of them fitting into the real estate, as well as wanting a human element on top of real estate. They come to us, work as a co-working space, as a flexible space provider, and also a space provider for the enterprise solution, we call it, where we bespoke, we basically build to suit a bespoke model office space, as well as usage of all our other network of locations for any companies that want a drop-in, drop-out location for all their staff. We customize that as well. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us. We're definitely into the aspect of making sure that when people use our spaces or use our product, they are at their utmost productivity level. When you come to work, I know Chusan's friend, Zaleha, comes all the time. She's a TV presenter. She's got a lot of work to do on the side besides being on camera. And when she's there, she's like, oh, I got so much done today, right? And that's what we want to provide for people. They come, they feel like they have achieved their maximum amount in that one day, and they feel fulfilled when they go home. So that's what we stand for, productivity workspace, productivity community. And if you can help each other out there, get your work done faster by leveraging off of each other, that would be even better. We've definitely leveraged off, MoneyMatch when they were in our space. Even now, I believe they're in chat groups. They still talk, they give advice to our community, and sometimes might ask for help, and then someone else will answer and give advice there as well. These are great things that are happening in terms of the collaboration side. And as long as you can increase your company's productivity, your personal GDP, by kind of like helping each other and not having to reinvent the wheel, then we would have done our job, is what I always say.
Okay, personal GDP. I like that, Steph. First time I heard that. Okay, but yeah, great. But sticking with you, Stephanie, could you share with us the reason why you started this co-working space business?
Yes, I think a few folds. It depends on how far you want to go back to the history of, how this thing started. Nearer to the current times, it would be that I worked at a REIT, a real estate investment trust, and it was an office and industrial REIT. And so obviously the REIT, Axis REIT, a very successful REIT, still is very successful today. Have office portfolio in their properties that they own. And I see firsthand that, what the experience is as an office user, how I would like to put my own spin around it. They were already a very forefront REIT, actually. They were doing quite a lot of newer services for our clients, and they loved it. But of course, at a REIT, there is certain things that you have to follow. You have to own the real estate. For me, I don't want to own the real estate so much as to provide a platform for people to work. And these are the things that as a company, not as a fund, we can provide. and we can be really innovative and can be really think outside the box and provide real estate in a very, very fluid and flexible way. So that's where I come in, as well as, in the past, I have been a renter for many years, and I have that experience. It's really, I think, difficult as a real estate user, not even just as a renter, as a buyer. It's also very expensive to own. It's expensive to rent your office or your home, right? And you're tied in. You go in, you have to be signing a 3-year lease, right? And then if you want to expand your team, all of a sudden you have to wait for the next space in your building to open up. And then you have to sign 3 more years, and maybe you don't need the entire space. And maybe you need a little at a time until you grow to however amount your team would be. Or actually, you don't even know what is your team size. You cannot plan, especially in this COVID environment. How would you know that all of a sudden it will be locked down again and you don't need an office again, right? So real estate is very, very inflexible. It's like we are trying to force ourselves to fit into our real estate. Very unflexible, right? The real estate should fit to us. When you want to use, it's there. We can move. If it's not one use, then it's not there. And where we want to use it, where in town we want to use it, and how much space that we want at any given time should be fitting to us. So that's where my co-founder Andrew and I decided there's a lot to innovate in this industry, and that's where we went in, and that's the story on the real estate side. But I think I will throw it back to you, Chusan. There's a lot of stories as to why this company got started, but then it will be a very long talk, I would say.
Okay, that's fine. But thanks for sharing. Maybe when we have time, we come back to those stories.
Sure.
Now I guess I will speak to Anees. You went from conglomerate to AICB to startup now. Could you just tell us the difference between the working environment in a conglomerate and a startup?
Sure. Yeah, so I guess there's similarities and differences across the two worlds. The very obvious are the structures and the environments, right? But then at the end of the day, as any companies, your goal is the same, to make profitable for the stakeholders and whatnot. So within the larger organizations, what I've realized is they have a lot of controls in place. You can come in and just follow the flow, right? Things are a bit more structured. Your task allocation is a bit more focused, and you build expertise within those specific areas. You probably end up doing similar things repeatedly for a couple of years, but then that's where your innovations in terms of like process improvements and whatnot come into play. And you're always like a part of a bigger sort of picture, but you not necessarily have that sort of control to where you're heading and whatnot. It's very bureaucratic and like slower pace, I guess. In a smaller organization like a startup, I'm sure Stephanie would agree to this as well. It's a very fast-paced and ever-changing environment. It's very, very agile. Our decisions are made on the fly. It is very important as we fight for our survival every day, right? And the ability to turn the ship around very fast is extremely important within this space. That's where work come in and allow you to build to increase your demand and lower your demand as and when you please, in respect of like your hirings and the workspace that you need, right? So startups may not be so structured. It could be overwhelming, I believe, in a certain aspect, but it allows you to create those structures and innovate the processes as you see fit. And for example, like in finance itself, in MoneyMatch, is very lean group. We cover not just the finance and accounting part. There's also the legal part of it. There's investor relations and stakeholder management. There's also the HR and admin part. So it's basically everything just within the same department. If I were to compare this to my experience in Sam Dhabi, tax department is on its own. You have legal department on its own, and group strategy and business development on its own as well. So, but yeah, the structure within the startup field it will be lean, and regardless of whether it's finance or accounting, ops or compliance, is going to be very lean, because that's just the way startups are run, right? We continue to be very cost effective across all the different departments. Not to say that one is more superior than another, definitely not. But at the end of the day, both corporate and startups have their own very important role to play within the Malaysian economy and business environment. And where you fit in, it really depends on your personality, your preferences in terms of like the pace, the contribution, the impact that you bring to the organization. So I feel with me having a taste of the startup life with my sister at bringing up the family business, I felt that I needed that. That the fast pace can be quite addictive, to say the least. So
Great.
yeah. So I guess that's the main difference I've seen so far.
Okay, great. So would you say that being a startup, you are managing a lot more things than just like one particular department? Does it help you, on your journey to leadership, being
Yeah.
involved in so many,
Mm.
sectors?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been my character has always been I can't do the same thing over and over again and not get bored, so to speak, right? So even when I was in Samdabi, I was moving from one department to another every 1 year and a half. It's just my preference. I feel that I just need to learn a lot more. And being in a startup, having to juggle different like multiple hats across the different field and being involved in a lot more projects and um, involved in the direction of the company to a certain extent has given me that self-satisfaction in a way, that what you say matters, right? And something can be done because of a certain certain aspects of your contribution. So yeah, so definitely has helped me to grow in the leadership position and knowing that you have to wear that multiple hats regardless.
Right. Great. Sounds like you're in the right space.
Yeah, I would believe so.
Okay.
Right.
Well, moving back to Steph.
Yeah.
Well, WORQ being one of the leading co-working spaces in the country, uh, what are some of the challenges and also what are some of the wins, that you've faced so far?
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of a long list of challenges, long list of wins as well, and that's part of the fun. I think that Anees will agree to. And I think, of course, when we first started, the big challenge is fundraising. Given that Andrew and I really did not have an proven experience as entrepreneurs, and there was not a long list of like resume entries to kind of back up that fundraising process. So of course, it was a lot of knocking on doors, and it was a lot of pitching, and there was a lot of people saying no, right? And we had to trudge on, and we had to just have like picked up the level of grittiness that we show, and I think what really came through was not just the soft aspects of business, but the business model that we showed, and then the financial modeling and all those like cold hard factual things that we put on the table that people really appreciated, which was that like we didn't try to over puff things, we didn't try to over pad things, and I think some of the investors appreciated that and saw that we were sort of like in their words speaking a lot of sense, as well as being very grounded, and that's what they evaluate as well, right? Is it realistic, and can I depend on you to be realistic on the job, if you cannot be realistic on the fundraising round, right? And then of course nobody can predict, but at the same time also just kind of like showing your reasonableness shows your thought process and shows you as the kind of person that they can trust, as well as also on the job, what kind of person that they want to back. So that's how we kind of like got some of these investors to take a chance on us and to take a leap of faith. And we asked them until today, just had a call with some of them, like, they are very happy and they say, I've invested in you already, several rounds, and I didn't regret at all. And we are here to support you, and we're here to support you all the way. And you you guys have done really well, and I'm just like so happy to be on this journey with you. Seeing how you've conducted yourself, and also how you have steered the company. And these are people who have been senior executives at Goldman Sachs and so forth for like 18 years. The financial people, they're smart, right? And I think the big question I had now at this journey is, why did you guys take the lead, right? We had nothing. Why you didn't have to do this? And I think they said, you had a dream, and you had a lot of energy, and at the end of the day, we look at the people when we invest, and that's what we are looking for. And I'm a good judge of character, and I felt like this is something that I would like to invest. So that's, I think, at the end of the day, my advice to people is that be the person that you want to invest in, right? Like if you want to raise money, you think about sort of, who you would invest in yourself, right? And if you are comfortable with yourself, like if you are a third party and you look at yourself and say, I'm pretty comfortable with who I am, then other people are also going to see that in you, and they'll want to take a chance with you.
All right, thanks for sharing. Anees, I understand also, MoneyMatch also had a successful fundraising recently.
Yep.
Were
Yep.
you involved?
Yeah. So
Yeah?
so they fundraise. We got the fundraising closed like towards the first quarter of 2021. So I just joined towards the end of 2020. So I was there. But at that particular point in time, most of the hard work was already done, right? It was more of like waiting for the term sheet, just closing the deal. But having said that, even I think like with the news of us fundraising all over the newspapers and whatnot, the second we got that out, there was a lot of pitching that happened as well. A lot of people that was more interested to find out where we're at, what we're doing, what was the plan in the future and stuff like that. So I remember at one point we were doing pitches, and like every other week or every single week, we were talking to like different various investors. And the thing is, what I've learned with the pitches are, the more stones you throw, one of them will hit, you see. So there's that. And as long as your numbers are justified and your valuation is justified, there will be interested party. There will be others that may not understand the fintech world as much, because it is a bit complicated, I guess. Like, the cross-border payments, what entails, what the technology part of it, definitely. But there will also be others with the risk appetite to actually take on these sort of like portfolios, right? So if you don't speak to them, then you don't know. So that's what we've been doing. And to now that we're talking about fundraising, just to put it out there, we're also at the pre-series B stage, with a potential of raising Series B in the next quarter also. So we're actually at the closing end of this pre-Series B stage. And Series B is expected at the third quarter of this year as well. So there's a lot of fundraising going on within the fintech space. I'm sure you're aware.
That's great. Congratulations, and let's hope the B series works out fine.
Yep. We're hoping this whole COVID thing will end pretty soon so that it doesn't affect the whole economy, right?
We had a good piece of news 2 days ago about borders reopening.
Oh yes, that will be very good. It's for MoneyMatch as well. I'm not sure if you're aware. Prior to COVID, right, 30% of our customers was actually hospitality and travel industries.
Oh, is that right?
So so we got hit pretty bad when COVID came. In the first few quarters, the management has decided to shift their strategies and focus a bit more into diversifying our customer base, right? So we went into pharmaceutical, we went into all the e-commerce players, we started onboarding a lot more industrial, sports, home, hobbies, and home appliances sort of companies. So I would say now we're heavily diversified in terms of customer portfolios. And regardless of all the multiple lockdowns that came after that, we were quite resilient. We weren't like affected as much because as and when the lockdowns happened, then the e-commerce players was soaring, right? And then when the business came back and the brick and mortar was back, then those businesses started to transact with us again. And now with the travel industry opening up, that's just great news for us. We were one of the largest Hajj and Umrah sort of non-bank payment cross-border payment as well at the time. So yeah, we're hoping to get there again. And Mata Fair is coming up soon as well, right, in next month. So yeah, let's travel, guys.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, I'm going to take a question from one of our audience members, from Zaleha. It goes, Steph and Anees, looking back when you were joining the dots in the early days, what was it like building a team? I guess when you first started a company, always HR is always an issue. So perhaps, Steph, can you let us know a bit about how you started your initial team?
Yeah, the initial team was a couple of interns.
Woo!
Me, Andrew, and 2 interns.
Interns are great. They have the most semangat, I feel.
Yes, I agree. We hire a
Yeah.
lot of interns too.
Ah,
Yeah, I think we have interns nowadays as well. But like you say, I think it was a wonderful experience really working with them. Still remember their name. One by the name of Elvis, a colorful name, right? And the other by the name of Becky, and they're both wonderful. And I think Elvis having a background in mechanical engineering, robotics. He helped set up a lot of our sort of like technical things in the beginning, he and Andrew. And of course, I think the other intern, Becky, was doing more of the creative side of things. And it was a great combination because they have very, very different skill sets. And they also, became wonderful friends with each other. And there was the team, me, Andrew, couple interns, and then we added more. I've got a friend on the marketing side who came to help, right? And then we also got very lucky to have hired somebody very very good at her job from a very, very prestigious organization, Kazana, and that person also really put in a lot and helped a lot in many things, right? So I think you get from all over the place, right? One was my friend who was willing to sort of take a pay cut and come on this journey with us, having many years of marketing experience. My friend Pui Ling, she put in her heart and soul, right? Some you get from the market, like that wonderful hire from Kazana, and then some you get interns, and then from there you just move on and hire more and more. And in the beginning, of course, it's always you don't have all the resources. It's difficult, and people who may be very used to a structured environment, having a lot of tools, that's not going to be available at a startup at the start. And then later on, as you have more and more things, then the challenges change. It's not that things change and some things get better, and then some other things become a new challenge, and it's a fluid thing. Right, so you just always have to be very fast to adapt and always have to learn how to learn new things very quickly. And then our team grown, and then by now we are a team of 40 or so, right? And we certainly have a lot more things in place, and things are definitely a lot less like in the beginning. It was say putting out fires a lot, right? Sometimes suddenly some things doesn't work and we just have to go and fix it right there and then ourselves, right? But now it's no longer the case, right? Now you have teams that are sort of more focused in their work, and then you may look for people who are more less generalist. In the beginning, you have a lot of generalists in your team, and now they're kind of like specialists in their roles, right? It's finance person, it's a finance person. It's an operations person, it's operations person. So that's how the team is built over the course of building a business. And of course, throughout the whole process, right? It's very important to kind of look back and really sort of like feel grateful for every single one of them and all the challenges. It's not easy to build a startup, and they come with a lot of understanding that things are just tough. It's just sometimes not glamorous, right? And you just roll out your sleeves, and then you think back about all the things that have started before you, and you really have a sense of gratefulness to everybody and everything in this world that have brought you to this day. Even just looking at countries and how it's been built. And if you think a startup is difficult to build, how about building a country? What about this society that we stand on the shoulders of giants who built it, and now we have used all the tools that the society has for us to build a startup. What about all those work that has gone before us that enable us to do this? So you just have a much more, though it's tough, right? Though you have to basically be pulling a rabbit out of a hat every single day, especially in the first few years. You also know that you are not pulling a biggest rabbit or biggest hat, because probably people have done a lot of things for you to be able to come to this stage as well. Yeah, so that's just a lot of awe for what already exists. And then moving forward, just try to do your best in all circumstances.
Well, if you have a robotics intern working for you, I think you got off started at the right footing lah.
I think every single one, when I think back, it's just it's not easy for everybody, and it's disconcerting, even for myself. It's just a lot of stress, but certainly I cannot be more grateful for every single person that has come and join us, and some of them didn't even join us, just help us for free, right? Just see our vision and just want to contribute. Community members, customers, friends. I think all that, like if you just use the community to work in a way and leverage them, they're happy to contribute because they want to see you succeed as well. Then it's really like, at the end, it's really nice feeling.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Anees, how about you? I mean, in your startup, Dermalin or MoneyMatch, how is the hiring been, previously and now in an environment like this? And since we are on the topic of women, what are the gender considerations, or are there any?
Okay, sure. Yeah, definitely. So to echo what Stephanie mentioned, right? As the business grow, the complexity of the business is different. I wasn't here when MoneyMatch just kicked off. However, when I came in, it was around 60 or 70 packs, and we're looking at now around 80, 90 packs at the moment. Hearing Stephanie describe the bumpy ride and I guess the hiring, all the headaches that she's went through, highest respect to it, sir, and the team that's kicked off WORQ and even MoneyMatch at the early days. It gives a different level of appreciation to it. So people that came before us see. But yeah, being in the startup world is a very bumpy ride. Even back in Dermalin, when we were like hiring all the operations people, you were still stuck to do like, the sales and marketing part of it, the HR, the admin, everything else, the multiple hats thing doesn't just go away. And demographics, sorry about that, demographics within the finance industry, fintech per se. Unfortunately, it is the general fact that the general talent pool, when it comes to these specific industries, is very much scaled towards the male sort of applicants, right? More male applicants and whatnot. And even within the leadership positions, it's heavily concentrated with male leaders as well. While it is currently a male-dominated industry, I do think that it is shifting towards a more sort of balanced gender demographic. There are so many notable female leaders within this space, to be frank. For example, like Surina Shukri, she was a former MDEC CEO. and also recently nominated as an independent director for Capital A. There's Zulira Abu Bakar, the former CEO of Magic, and now the CEO of TPM. And even the fact is the first person who established Magic back in 2014 was Cheryl Yeo, and a very dynamic lady and leader. So as you see, right, we're not short of actually female leaders within the industry. It's moving towards there, and even within MoneyMatch, we actually make a very conscious effort to hire in diversity. We know that there's a lot more male applicants, but we just wanted to have that diversity within the employee and the workplace and whatnot. I believe this trend will continue down this line within the industry or even any other industry. And some industries are a bit more female oriented, right? For example, the Merlin Skin Center I was talking about, that was a lot. Obviously, there's a lot more female within those industries, but there's always those like marketing and design sort of position where there would be a chance for both, opportunities for both, right? Yeah, and based on my experience, it can be daunting at first, I guess, to be walking into the room knowing that you're probably the only rose among the thorns, right? But yeah, I slowly overcome that by looking past the gender part of it and seeing that my colleagues and peers are just like peers who are working towards the same goal. We are all fighting towards the same thing. So at the end of the day, gender doesn't matter. Everyone contributes to their own respective way to the success of the company, and the diversity in thoughts and experience plays a very important role, I feel, in general.
Okay, thanks, Anees. Could you give us some specific examples on how hiring has become more skewed to more inclusive or include more diversity within the company, within MoneyMatch?
Yep, definitely. So, like, if we were to open up like the applicants sort of like listing and whatnot, you'd probably see like around 90% of them are males, right? And then, then having looked at the composition of the company, and in line with like the basic the basic analysis of their experience and whatnot, we place importance in making sure that specific departments or specific areas has both genders and different backgrounds, and in terms of not just in terms of their genders, but their background, their upbringing, their cultures and whatnot. So just to have that a bit more streamlined, I guess, to a certain extent. So yeah, for example, I guess in our engineering team, I'm pretty sure everyone's would think like engineers are generally male oriented, right? Even our data teams are generally male oriented, but within our engineering and data team, we do have a couple of like female leaders in it as well. We have we also hire from interns. As in when they prove themselves, then they get absorbed into their permanent role and whatnot as well. So there's a few of those going on in every department. We do have that concentrated sort of efforts going on. Having said that, we're not nearly as close to like 50%. I would say around 30% of MoneyMatch is female at the moment. But yeah, it's a trend that's going. It's not going to like happen overnight, you see. And to empower this woman to even step into this zone of like male-oriented industry will be quite tough as well. It's something that we as women leaders will have to encourage, I would say.
It's great. Well, at least you're walking the talk, and it takes small steps, right?
Baby steps.
Yeah. Well, I know Steph is a big champion of diversity in work. And perhaps, Steph, can you tell us a bit about, gender demographics or your push for diversity within the work community itself?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do what we can. I think at work, I think there's more females than males. But it's almost equal. I think it's like maybe, if I'm not mistaken, from last statistics, we don't look at it all the time. 51, 49, something like that. It's like just edging out. There's a few more female team members than male. But really, we're not looking at it like every single day and trying to make sure we have that. We just hire the best, right? And we try to give opportunity equally to everybody, whatever the station of life and whatever is their background and whatever is their gender. And it turns out that that is the number. So you can say that that is a study. You can call it a sociological study that women and men are equally as capable, because we're not purposely putting in a affirmative action plan or something like that. We just, whoever deserves the job the most, equally deserve a chance, right? Male or female. And then it turns out the number is very representative of the overall population. So, I want to take that as a small little sort of sociological study on the fact that I guess it just turns out that way, right? That the amount of capability among female and male is probably the same, right? And there's nothing that a male can do that a female cannot do, and vice versa. And we just sort of like give equal opportunity to people. The data turns out that is representative of their equal strength. I don't know if it's going to stand the test of like a scientific research or something like that, because we're not in the business of doing research. But what I can say is that, like, when you just give people equal opportunity and you try to be, very sort of, don't discriminate or anything like that, right? That alone is already very, very powerful and very strong. If you just hire based on their capability, you will see that women are very, very capable. And then you will just naturally end up with that, right? So that's how we kind of like really naturally support that cause, and naturally also ensure that the demographics are well provided for. So in our space we have mother's room, and it's not a small mother's room that is kind of like an afterthought. It is a well thought out room where the mothers can really have a proper place to feel comfortable. It's a nice chair. We provide all the amenities: a sink, a fridge, enough plug points, a soft lamp, and we also provide the breast pump itself. And of course you bring your own, because it's one more thing for you to not have to worry about, right, when you come and use the mother's room. And we really try to take that step to ensure that the mothers that use our space, both our customers as well as our staff members, they have a proper high spec place that will support their work life when they come to every day leave their child at home to work, right? These are the things that we try very hard to think about on the little details, right? To support the women in our space, because merely we care about them, we understand what they go through, and at the same time we know that they can really amount to so much, as long as there's equal opportunity. So we have, say one of our teammates, Marjorie, she's a returning mom. She's got 2 wonderful kids. She works really hard. And, at the end of the day, sometimes you can see that women can fare even better than men, depending on the person. It's always up to the individual. Based on the experience that they've been through, childbirth is not something to belittle. And, people who go through that have a lot of strength. People who can handle that, and I know in her case, it was done, without epidural, so the amount of pain is so much. And if you can, I think withstand that, you really have that amount of grit in you. And what more can you do in life if you can really, handle that amount of that amount of responsibility and just pure hard physical pain. So I think all we got to do really is to support, and then naturally will come. And we attract a lot of women, and they understand this about us. We didn't advertise it, we don't talk about it too much, but I think it's a pretty well-known fact among our team as well as people that we are very I wouldn't call it like centric. What is the word centric? I would say supportive and genuinely caring of female workers in our space.
Right. I know as a working mom yourself, I know you're very proud of all these facilities in your workspaces. And also, I see how some of your workspaces are located near childcare centers or kindergartens,
Yes.
so it makes it convenient for them, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
also very impressed hearing all that. We have a long way to go.
We'll get
But
there.
yeah, I think,
Or you could just use a co-working space like WORQ.
like WORQ, yeah. Yeah.
Anees, just want to ask you, okay, do you feel being a woman, has it affected you in your career, in your current role? Do you feel that it has brought you any disadvantages or even actually advantages? Could you give us, your general feeling?
In all honesty, I don't feel that being a woman gives me any extra advantages or disadvantages, because at the end of the day, it comes down to your ability, your attitude, and your skill sets, right? And I feel that looking beyond gender helps people to look at the substance rather than the face of it. And within the startup community especially, you just there's a need to be self-aware, I guess, and humble enough to understand your own weaknesses and confident enough in the strength that you're able to bring in the table to the table, right? And believe in the team, believe in the team members, trust those team members will deliver those quality works that is required of their task, and encourage them to grow their own personal growth, and empower them to be independent whenever it's whenever they can take charge. So overall, just communication is key across all boards. Being a woman or not, it comes down to how you communicate your thoughts and articulate your thoughts, I guess, to the individual, to the audience. You usually communicate to yourselves, right? And you explain things the way you would understand it. But then when you speak to other people, there's always that level of where you need to then bring it back to the audience level. So like speaking to engineers, like the engineer speaks to you in their own lingo, and I speak to them in my finance lingo. Nobody's gonna get where anyone's getting supposed to be, right? So there's always that, and at the end of the day, your character as a leader will bring the team to where it's heading. So you need to lead by example. I'm a great believer of that. As you mentioned earlier, walk the talk. As leaders, we want the people around us to grow as well as becoming leaders of their own one day, right? And I've experienced women leaders, excellent ones, throughout my career path. My former bosses who I continue to look up to this very day. And within the startup community, like great perseverance, hardworking, all those are very key. And portraying that to your team members, and to just highlight to them that these are the stuff that matters, plays a very important role. And it doesn't matter, to be frank, like in terms of like gender, right?
Okay.
Only saying like within the tech industry itself, there's just generally male dominated industry, that's it. But in terms of hiring, of course, we look at the quality of the individuals, we look at the experiences that they bring, and how they can then add value to the company as well.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I was also wondering whether that was an appropriate question to ask regarding gender, but I think it's also important to know
I mean,
what
let's
you
not.
thought and
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
feel.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Let's not beat around the bush. There are certain industries that are heavily gender focused, and I
Yeah.
would say tech is one of them.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but yeah, we are moving in the right direction. But then, if you go into the beauty industries, then obviously the gender focus there will be females, right? So there's always that balance within the business environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the most important thing that you say is to be able to talk about it, and not sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Steph, speaking about outstanding women, I understand that your late grandmother played a pivotal role in the family business. Uh, would you mind sharing with us a bit on how, a bit of a story and how it has influenced you in the decisions you make today?
Yeah. I mean, how much time do you have?
Well, I know it takes forever, but she's quite an extraordinary woman here. But let's keep it to 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
What are some
Okay.
of the lessons? Yeah, what are some of the lessons that you learned from her?
Sure, sure. I mean, I think my grandmother, I don't think I've shared this before about her. I've shared about how she and my dad, had struggling times back then, and they turned things around. Um, and she's actually, uncannily really good at real estate. And when I walked around certain things, she would tell me like this one is well located because of this and that. And I don't know. I might have picked it up from her. I cannot be sure. But she's certainly, a shrewd and very intelligent woman. But where her background is that she came from wartime China back in the days, and they had came to Malaysia, and it was not an easy living for her, and more so that she was adopted, and one of many siblings. Back then they have a lot of siblings, and you really do not get a lot of chances back then, and even food was scarce. Not to mention, pocket money, things even as basic as shoes is luxury back then. So certainly for a woman with no means and with no education, and not even education, she was illiterate. She could not read and write to the last day that she lived. She was able to achieve a lot through greed, through being very cost conscious, to be very careful, but also willing to take certain risk and certain investment opportunities, as well as working very, very hard. So, I mean, the story goes where my grandfather, from having nothing, had built up a very good company, and it became quite big. But when he had passed away, then the um, company was given to trustees to handle, but they kind of like had done whatever happened, whether it was inability to execute or whatnot, we're not quite sure. But it's certainly at a point when my grandmother took it over, and she didn't have to. She just wanted to, like keep the legacy on. It was in shambles and it was owing a lot of debt. And she doesn't have the ability to read and write, so she had asked my dad to stop his university halfway to take over the business, and to try to like turn it around. But my dad was only 21 years old, and he really had no prior experience and any kind of like business ability at that point. And so the both of them did the best that they could. They had really good friends and advisors, community, I would say, who helped them out. And through hard work, through a strong community, through people just like teaching them things that they need to pick up fast, they turned it around. They paid off all the debtors. It became a good company that they could provide for us from, and then they kind of even paid off the trustees, even though they didn't have to, and they did the right thing anyway to keep the legacy of my grandfather alive. So I think having that kind of people had asked her why did she want to pay off the trustees and all that. Her thought and my dad's thought is always that it doesn't matter what they do to us, we got to do the right thing, and they have. these shares grandfather gave to them, he had that thought that he wanted to share with them. So it's my job and my responsibility to give to them what grandfather wanted them to have, whatever it is that they did. So I'm here to, be good custodians for his will. And so that's why, she kept on. And I think this is what actually gave her success, her, confidence in that if she did the right thing, like results would come by doing the right thing. It's hard to explain, right? But I think ultimately we all kind of can understand why she was able to succeed given that kind of character and mindset. And that was kind of like really taught to us from young as, a story that she tells us how you want to conduct yourself in business, coming from a community, how you want to be, and just, trying your best. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be mindful that you would like to at least try your very best to be good about things, and then go from there. So that's the story about why I really believe in the power of community, and as well as believe in the power, the words of my grandmother, who's a wonderful character in terms of how she conducts herself business, as well as also her neat little things about which real estate you need to buy, or which shop lot, or which this kind of stuff. That's how she is.
Right.
Sounds like a very
great
determined
story.
woman.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Steph.
That's
Looks like you have entrepreneurial spirit really flowing in your veins, like literally. Yeah.
Is it inherited?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's like DNA etched into the cells.
Yeah.
It's probably the way that you're brought up as well.
Yeah,
right,
it's just maybe like just things that you hear in the family, or maybe an example that was set for you, probably more so than I think kind of like hereditary, I would say.
Somewhat hereditary.
Yeah.
Nature versus nurture, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are nearing the end of the 1 hour already, and so probably time to wrap this up. Anees, do you have any closing words? What's your hope? I mean, since we're talking about women, what's your how would you like to empower more women? To perhaps take up more leadership roles, joining more male-dominated industries. Yeah. What's your hope for women?
Yeah. So, as a woman leader, I think we do have a role to play in encouraging the wave of female leaders. There's just not enough of them at the moment. Call it intimidation, call it, it's probably just industry based. But yeah, I so far in MoneyMatch, I have been lucky enough to land a position in MoneyMatch where the founders and the team members are very supportive and very encouraging. It provides a safe space for us to explore and expand our abilities, and to step up of your comfort zone. For example, even this talk, right? It's actually my first time, and also Chusan's first time. And but yeah, so it's the little things that they put the trust in you, and give you and empower you to take charge and make decisions. And I think I would definitely replicate that with my team members and the women leaders out there as well, to encourage them by setting examples to cultivate these new leaders, and recognizing their strength and develop that even further, and I guess trusting that they will grow and help them grow within their respective strength and whatnot. Understanding that there's a life outside of work is also quite important, because behind those every woman leaders that you see, they are also a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister. So there are those responsibilities that come with it. And it's they call it work-life balance. So in another aspect, I will call it work-life infusion, right? like it's just infused. Your personal life and your choices with the workplace and whatnot, it's just infused. It's just a matter of prioritizing different things at different times. So understanding that as a woman leader, growing the woman sort of pool, talent pool is very important. And yeah, MoneyMatch actually provides that space. We have a growing number of mothers, I guess, within our team members as well. Even my recent HR manager just gave birth to like a second kid as well. So there's a lot of I guess difficult situations that you would face with raising a kid. You see, like falling sick and then daycare's closed and stuff like that. I'm also a mother of one, a 5-year-old, so I understand that as well. So having the understanding and the empathy towards the situations around them would definitely help them to do better and be better and be more comfortable at taking on like higher positions, higher ranking positions. Definitely.
That's great. Thanks, Anees. Steph, any closing statements from you about women in startups?
Yeah, I mean, I think the startup community actually do have quite a few female founders, and this attests to the strength that like women have and the risk that they're willing to take, and the grit that they're willing to display when they have to be building something, not just leading but building. And I think that really shows sort of that really shows how we should be very grateful to these women who manage so much and yet has the courage and the confidence to go and start something, sometimes maybe leaving a job that pays, a corporate job that pays a lot, like in Anees's case, to take on something that they know is not going to be easy. But this also means that they are the kind that is sort of building our economy from the ground up, from a startup standpoint, and the innovation is coming in from these people, and we need to give them due respect, and to try to be supportive of more and more female entrepreneurs and female leaders in their respect, and how can we do it in a way where it's supportive, it's real, it's not just talk, but it is really sort of making a change that is very tangible, is something that we should do, whether it's small things or big things, right? Funding or mother's room, coaching, mentoring, or maybe certain flexibility in maternity leave and all that stuff. It should be really well thought of, and it should be put into place so that we can empower women to not have to give up too much if they want to pursue these roles, and that they can still have it all. Because what would the world be without women? What would the world be without mothers? It would cease to exist. It would stop. And so we have to be very grateful and say that the little bit of things that we put in, like a mother's room and all that, what is that going to come back in mothers who can work, can be comfortable, and that's going to create a better society in the future, and that's going to be enjoyed by everyone. Sometimes we just have to have the confidence to give a little bit and understand that it's going to come back, and just have that thought going forward.
Okay, thank you for that, Steph. Looks like our 1 hour is up. I'd like to thank you, ladies, for all your insights. Also, thank you to the audience for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Chusan,
thanks,
for having
Anees.
us here. Thank you, Stephanie. It's
Thank you,
great
Steph.
to
Yeah, and
Thank
also,
you.
yeah,
Thank you, Chusan.
Yeah. Thanks for AFFINGEM. Thanks to AFFINGEM, MoneyMatch, and WORQ for making this possible. And get connected today via SME Colony for more business events. Join as a AFFINGEM member to enjoy benefits specially crafted for you. Well, looking forward to the next webinar, and we will see you guys soon.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you,
Enjoy.
Sally. Thank you, Susan. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Every entrepreneur dreams of overcoming all challenges to experience the sweet taste of success and to see their business soar to unrivaled heights. AFFINGEM propels your business forward by offering banking without barriers and supporting your business goals.